Okay, so the reason I'm making this video right now, it's basically there is something I want to say, not just for the views, not just for the numbers, but there's genuinely something I want to say. Okay, so this is basically a story, okay, story time or whatever you can say. Basically, a year ago, or maybe let's say 2 years ago, there was this friend of mine who asked me, why you have this motivation, why you have this inspiration, where this inspiration came from, or like basically what's the purpose. And the answer was very much clear to me, to be very honest. Since I was a child, a lot of things have been very much clear for me. For example, the purpose of my life, how I want to live my life. Those things are very much clear to me since I was a child. And I replied that friend, okay, like the purpose of my life, or basically the why I have this inspiration or motivation to, let's say, to work, to explore more, it's basically freedom. I know it sounds vague, I know it sounds naive even, but the answer is pretty much simple. But is the freedom I am thinking same as yours? I don't think so. Could be, but could be different too, So basically, what's freedom to me? That's a very deep question, to be very honest, But I will try to make it sound very much practical as possible, because I'm very much of a practical person myself, I feel like freedom contains different parts. It is not an absolute one thing. It contains different parts. For example, at one point in your life, you want to be financially free. That is very much important. The reason I'm saying this is not because I want to have a luxurious life of having, let's say, Lamborghini or a sports car. No, that's not a dream of myself. I want to have financial freedom, to have that much amount of money that I don't have to work for the money. I know it sounds very cliche, but it is what it is. I don't want to chase for money. Money is basically like a fuel, at least for me, it's basically like a fuel. I want to have that much amount of money that it can give me the freedom to stop working for the money. Am I saying I want to quit the work, I want to retire from the work? No. Even after having the money, I'll still work. But the purpose will be very different than working for the money. Of course, I'm still young, I haven't achieved anything as so-called society terms, but yeah, it is what it is, I want to say. So basically, one part of the freedom is basically financial freedom, because let's be real, most of the people in the earth, of course not everybody, exceptions are always there, but most people on the earth basically work their whole life to gain what? To eat, to survive, that's what animals are doing, basically. I know it sounds harsh, but I feel like it is what it is for most of the people, I'm not trying to criticize them, I'm not trying to judge them, because of course they have their own responsibilities, they have their own, let's say, criteria to fulfill, So I'm not trying to judge them, but what I'm trying to say, this is the life I want to live. I'm not pushing my idea to anybody. Of course you can have your own idea, but this is the life I want to live. Because let's be real, what's the purpose of the life? To eat, to survive, to feed your children. Of course that all that thing is important, but is that the only purpose of the life? I don't think so. At least for me, I don't think so. Purpose is something that people can define for themselves, and I feel like I have a lot much bigger purpose than that. Whether it's for passion, whether it's for the art, whether it's for relationships, whether it's for my personal well-being, everything. So one part of the freedom is basically financial freedom. Now comes the question, if I don't achieve financial freedom, will I not be free? That's a very genuine question, to be honest. I don't think so you can absolutely say that you are free or not. There is no absolute yes or no answer to this question, I feel like the question is much more deeper than that. I feel like even the people who don't have financial freedom can still be free, but of course they have their own limitations. For example, they can't quit the work, because one part of the freedom is basically you can quit whenever you want the work you are doing for the money, Of course I want to work, but I don't want to work my whole life just for the money, because what's the purpose of working whole life for the money, which is basically the concept that we humans have made. So the purpose is much more bigger, the purpose is much more large, Of course I'm having difficulty to express everything that I want to say, because I'm still trying to improve my communication skills, but I said whatever I could, at least at this moment. So yeah, that's all for the video. I hope you like it, or even if you don't like it, that's fine.